I feel like a star, but only strictly where I'm famous. I'm in this for the longest haul, like we'll see where it takes us. I'm throwing back these double shots like whiskey here is weightless. Cause this career I chose was even riskier than Vegas, yo.
Hello, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Colby Rebel Show. Tonight is a very, very special night. We have a phenomenal guest all the way from the other side of the world with us here tonight. And I just love this man. He is so unbelievable. And not just as a teacher, because, I think he teaches through life. We all know him as an acclaimed medium with a lot of status in what he does because of his experience, but he is so compassionate and empathetic. He's a fantastic father who loves his kids. He takes time out to help as many people as he can on his journey. And these little gems of wisdom that he gives, I'm sure he would dismiss that because he's so modest, but I just love him and I appreciate that he is here with us tonight, and we really are in for a treat. So I'm going to ask him a million gazillion questions on your behalf. And we will welcome him warmly. So I want to wish hello, Tony Stockwell. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
I
Thank
am
you.
so excited to have you here. So, we had a little bit of a technical glitch, so we started a little later. So, I saw all these messages on Facebook. Where are you? What's going on?
Yeah, oh God.
But we
Yeah,
are
I don't like
here.
technical things.
Well,
No, we're here.
a
That's the
lot of
main
it
thing.
is with energy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Divine
So,
timing.
divine timing. So, you have been so incredibly busy with your work and teaching and your center. Uh, when are you able to have some downtime?
Well, this year I made a decision to have more time at home as my children are getting a little older, in as much they're not babies anymore, and they recognize that I'm not there. So I've not been away, I don't think, for maybe 2 months.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I don't go away again until March time, where I go back to Melbourne, Australia,
Oh,
to
great.
work. But of course, I'm working. I'm busy here, but not so much abroad.
Oh, okay. Be in Melbourne next weekend or next, like the
Ah,
7th.
cute.
Yeah, we're just
Say hello
passing.
to them. Yeah.
I will. So, with the mediumship, if you don't mind us kind of chatting about it a little bit, uh, I'm just curious, do you ever find a need to kind of step away from mediumship to take a full break from it, or is it always within your awareness?
Yeah, it is always in my awareness, and I think there's so much of my day that I am considering something, um, wondering about something, not necessarily in communication or anything like that, but wondering really about how it works, what the other people in the other world really want from us, what's the bigger picture, because I'm quite convinced in mediumship as we know it, that we're scratching the surface of of the bigger picture constantly. So I'm also trying to work out how we can live more. I don't necessarily want to say spiritually, because we all that, but just to live more kindly to ourselves and to others, and still walk this path of being a medium or a psychic or a seer.
Do you feel like there's a certain way that mediumship needs to be done, or do you feel that there's more flexibility in it than maybe how some people are teaching it, or maybe some theories are approaching it?
Yeah, I think flexibility all the way. I mean, I'm saying to every group that I take, which is it's a lot of groups, and they'll ask me, should I do it this way or that way? And I'm a great fan of when I say, do what you like, as long as it works. I think, I keep saying we are all the real X-Men, And so the way I do it should be different from the way you do it, and the way you do it should be different from everybody else. So the idea is that we still try to blend with the other world, and not just to describe who's here, but why they have come, what do they want to say, how does that enrich our lives by hearing that, and how satisfied our spirit from offering that to us. So yeah, certainly, I think we have an issue at the moment where we have teaching mediums, and I'm sure it's both sides of the pond, that try to um, almost replicate their own work in their students and create clones of themselves. And I don't want to say that in a miserable way, because I can obviously see the appeal, of creating something quite marvelous in your own likeness, but it's not the way it should be.
Yeah, and definitely, I know I personally feel that spirit wants us to use our personality. I mean, why else would they have us connecting and communicating if our personality isn't part of that connection? How do you think of that?
Well, absolutely. And I also, this is the other thing that I feel I talk about a lot, that at the moment, the way that we work and what we do, it attracts a certain demographic. But you rarely see other, faiths is the wrong word entirely, but people that were once Jewish, or people that were once strict Muslim, people that are black, people that are Chinese. We're not really represented with the full gamut of community, the representing the world. We seem to be of a type, so I used to say fair, fat and 40, but I'd have to now be fair, fat and 50, unfortunately. But what can we do? But yeah, I think we have to be ourselves, and with strong accents and big personalities, and we're different shades of of humanity. We need to be there. But the reason is because there are people in certain communities that may not come to see me, because there'd be a judgment that I've got nothing to do with their world and their experience. So if we have another and another, that people can look at us all as a collective and think, wow, everybody's doing this thing, regardless of age and wealth or poverty, if somebody's Hispanic. And so we need to be fully represented by the Earth's community. And in that, there needs to be much more flexibility, and I think potentially a far more of a shamanistic view of mediumship. So we start to work in the power of mediumship. And this is something that, without sort of going off on a tangent, I did a demonstration a few weeks ago, and I think I'm still scarred by it. I do. The group were harsh. It felt like a room full of muggles screaming in their minds, "Psychic, go on, prove it, prove it." And it was hard, And the weirdest thing is, the very next night I had a demonstration, and it was just, I say brilliant. It sounds egotistical, but it went from really hard to like a party,
Yeah.
just in a night. And I'm constantly surprised by how we as mediums are so affected by the energy of the collective there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, Colby, you'll agree that sometimes it's just working with some audiences, some people, not individuals, but the collective, can be really quite disparaging, really quite difficult. And then flipped on its head, and you feel like you're a miracle worker all over again.
Yeah, there are some that are, you'll finish and you'll almost feel a little drained from it. Like, oh, that was tough, pulling teeth, as we say.
Absolutely, yeah, it's true.
But do you feel that spirit pushing us, or do you think it's coincidence, or do you feel like it's our own stuff kind of maybe purging to kind of get to a new level? What are your thoughts on it, other than oof?
Yeah, well, I think it's all of the above. Now, truly, if any of the people listening, of course, they are trying to work with mediumship, are mediums, are teachers, whatever it might be, or just people that enjoy the work, recognize it's an energetic exchange.
Yeah.
So, of course, if you have somebody that comes to see you for a private reading, they're bright and they're breezy, they're still very honest with you, but they're encouraging and they're warm and they're excited. So you can transcend personally any issue you might have had that morning, or a little ache, a little pain, and suddenly you feel carried away by their vibrancy. But again, when you have other people, I had a guy some months ago, he came to see me for a one-to-one. I thought he wanted to assault me. He was that aggressive when he came in, and he was angry, angry, angry at me. And I said, "Oh, look, just calm. Let me see if I can help you." And this is the thing that I'd said. I can't prove anything to you. All I can do is share with you what I feel. So just relax and see. It ended up being one of the better readings I think I had done for a long time. But he demanded of me strong evidence. And I think I simply said, "And who is Mark?" or "I have Mark." And that was his brother who had just died, I think about a month before. And from that moment, everything changed in this guy. And I think that's okay, because when people come to see us, they don't know really how this works, if they're normal people. And I think sometimes they'll come thinking it's all smoke screens and mirrors, this kind of thing. And so they need for us to not only be accurate and honest and truthful and real with them, but I think everything we do as ambassadors for the spirit world, to represent them, should be done in a loving way, and to recognize that our words are healing. And so we are all ultimately healers. And when we step back and take our own vulnerability, I suppose, as workers, out of it and a bigger person, we recognize we're simply there to share all information and inspiration that flows through us, hoping that it makes a difference.
Do you think so? When a client wants something specific evidence, how do you deal with the pressure of it? Because you may not be able to guarantee that you're going to get the name. So how do you handle something like that?
Yeah. Well, interestingly, if it's a name, I made like a declaration, or rather more a commitment to myself, that I'll always try to get the name. Not in a demonstration. It's weird. Not in a gallery style, demonstration. I think there's so much going on in the room. We're bamboozled with detail at times. But in a one-to-one, I'll always endeavour to get the name. So what I've tended to do now is have a notepad and pen, and I write down, this sounds ridiculous after all these years, but I write down what I'm not confident enough sometimes to say. So I'll put an R on a piece of paper, and sometimes I'll go through the alphabet in my mind, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And this is what I've noticed with names. There was a man who came to see me a few weeks ago, and his mother came through, and his father, and his dad's name was John. So that was easy. Lovely. So I say, "John," and he goes, "That's my dad's name." I thought, "Oh, good, that's good. Well done, me." And then all I know is his mother's name begins with an A. And this is what I find interesting. My mind screams Anne. So I say, "Anne." And he says, "No." And I think, "Oh, I thought that was going to be Anne." So I think it's definitely an A. So he's wanting this specific detail, isn't he? So then I have to say, "Look, let me leave it. Let me continue to talk about maybe their parents love ballroom dancing or something." And then all of a sudden I found myself writing down, sort of like automatic writing, sort of as inspired writing. I write the name Audrey down without really thinking. This is quite a way later in the reading. And then it gets to the end. I forgot to say the name. How weird is that? So he said, "Oh, you never got my mum's name." And I said, "I'm really sorry. I forgot." And then I said, "What was your mother's name?" And he said, Audrey. Then I remembered, and I literally just picked up my little pad and I showed him Audrey on the. Honestly, it was like a TV show. It was
That's
like
like a mic
drama.
drop.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It was one of those moments. So this is the thing I think we all recognize as workers. The amount of times we'll say, "I got that, but I never said that." So I would recommend to anyone that is, is a reader, write down the things that you didn't want to say or weren't sure of, or want to spoil a good reading by throwing something at your recipient that's not, easily received. Because people think, especially with names, that we're like a human telephone. But mediumship comes from inspiration, thoughts and
Yeah.
feelings, imagery in the mind. It all has to be interpreted.
Yes.
So, how do I deal with people that want specific details? I give it a really good go. And if I
Yeah.
don't get it, it's never spirit's fault. I always say, don't blame them, but blame me.
Yeah. That's really great advice. I also had this um maybe aha moment with spirit. Again, talking to them, I just chat with them all day long, just say, what would you like about this? Or, I find that they really like their personality to come through, or things that they enjoy doing with their loved ones, right? But don't you think like it's creativity? So the inspiration really comes from making sure that our creative mind is as open as possible.
Uh,
What do you think of that?
Absolutely. I think that the spirit world wants us to have fun with the information,
Yeah.
but the more it wasn't me so said this. I'm sure it was Gordon Higginson, the late Gordon Higginson, a British medium here, who said that mediumship is the mirror of the mind. So
Yeah.
it's impossible to say what you don't have a reference for.
Right.
So if you have a very creative mind, it's got to be so much easier
Yeah.
for the spirit world to be able to access that creativity and offer, all sorts of other wonderful nuances in the reading and to represent their information. But this again, this is important, that I think as mediums we overdo at times who somebody was. So, you or I could say, I have a man here and he had black boots and black trousers or pants, you'd say, and a black coat and dark hair and dark, uh, and he liked, snooker, and he liked Hamburg. And, and so the recipient knew very well who he was 15 minutes beforehand, you
Right.
see. But we go on and we go on. It
Yeah.
becomes quite laborious. Did he have, a big duvet on his bed? Did he have some problem with his ear? And so what we have to recognize in mediumship, it needs to be better proportions with regards to good information that secures an understanding that I have this man. Do you understand? And for the moment, yes, I understand
Hmm.
completely who this is. Then we have to move on to what does he do in the other world, which then really stimulates the creative mind, because do we have the capacity to imagine what he is about in our Father's kingdom? What does he see of our world, and who has he met in the other world? And what these three elements bring to the mind of the medium is not only are we able to describe who has once walked amongst us, but who continues to walk amongst us and who is able still to walk in the other world, and then relay back through inspiration to the mind of the medium truths and insights that are invaluable in mediumship. And I think, I'm happy to say that I think most mediumship lacks a strong and committed and oh my word attempt, that's the word I think, attempt to channel or to receive living information. i.e. what do they do in their world and why are they wanting to come through and what is it they want to say.
Yeah, like what is their day like, right? What is their day
What is their
like
day
now?
like?
Are they
Yeah.
an early riser still? Or they staying up late?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah,
Yeah.
you'll find when your mind becomes attuned to this. I just, all the readings we always do. But a number of years ago, I described a lady, and I kept going on about she's climbing a tree, and she's jogging, and she's running through the park, and it went on for a long time. All this very active, and you're already a step ahead. The lady had real physical disability in life,
Yeah.
so she was saying to her family, and I wasn't quite, aware of the importance of this to begin with. I'm liberated,
Yeah.
no longer does my body hold me back. I am now
Mm-hmm.
free, like a bird set free from a cage. Look at me now, I can jog. It was kind
Yeah.
of beautiful. The
Yeah.
spirit want to tell us what they've overcome as well. Anybody that's passed with a degree of addiction
Right.
or self-doubt or self-loathing may come through and say, but look at me now. This is
Yeah.
who I was, but look at who I am. So there is a huge education for the living, and an understanding their loved ones are now safe. And I
Yeah.
think we take that for granted often. We don't always remember to say your mother's now out of pain. Oh,
Yeah.
and by the way, your parents are together.
Yeah.
People go, oh, it's like a revelation, but we assume they're going to grasp that. So yeah, I think greater attempts really to represent who spirits are now, what is their life like in the other world, along with good substantial survival evidence. Of
Yeah.
course, that's key
Yeah.
because that opens the door in the mind of the recipient. But it's just when it becomes laborious. I'm sure in
Yeah.
years past, I've done a whole hour on someone's dad and never dreamed of anything after death. It was all prior to Earth life, all
Right.
Earth life information.
Yes. Yes. And I do. Do you feel in any way that you ever had an experience where you did disappoint spirit, but maybe they taught you from it, or do you think that
Oh,
they're
I
so
think
forgiving?
lots. I think lots. I think they've been exasperated by me for years and for years. I mean, how the heck they still work with me, I really don't know. I mean, there has been, I've had so many occasions where, I've come away from a demonstration, think I could have represented them better
Yeah.
that time around. But this is sound horribly egotistical, of course, but that's been, dovetailed or measured out by the nights that I've come away from a demonstration or a one-to-one thinking that was absolutely sublime. That was just so accurate.
Yeah.
How can I be that amazing? So that's people are turning off now. But
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
the rough comes the smooth.
Yeah.
With the moments I think, God, they want to kill me. That was a really hard dem. There is this other space where really, where it's a good night, really well received.
Yes.
And quite recently I had a standing ovation for a demonstration too. And I thought,
Wow.
wow, that doesn't often happen, does it? A standing ovation
Were you thinking about
from the
retiring at
audience.
that very moment, though?
That was
It's
it.
like,
Stop
done.
now. My old my old tutor Joan, she would always say, as a medium, we're only ever as good as our last demonstration.
Yeah.
So I could have retired then and been brilliant for
That's it.
always.
One for the books. But I
Yeah,
also,
of course.
one of the things I love about you, Tony, is you've been doing this for many years and have so many accolades doing it. Really, Spirit has truly, truly rewarded you for your service to them. But yet, you still continue to strive to push the envelope, to learn more, to understand deeper. It's like you're not complacent at all within your work. And so, do you think that's your curiosity? What do you feel drives you to say, I want more, I want to learn more about the spirit world?
I don't know what it is, but I'm fascinated by that other world.
Yeah.
And as you know, I get older. I said the other day, most of my friends are dead.
Yeah.
I know so many people that have gone over. It's ridiculous. And I think the last 2 weeks, 3 more of them have gone from my groups, here in the UK, etc. So that always fascinates me. Wow. What have they encountered? What did they want to come back and say? Because a lot of people I know that have passed over were also spiritual people on the same kind of journey. So I find that really enthralling, that when they get there, they're going to have to want to say something. How sensitive can we be to pick up on that flow of consciousness?
Right.
And I think insight and understanding when we've worked enough on our ego, enough on our limitations with regards to that's what I've got, that's what I'll give you. So the thing that I can't bear to hear in our clan, us lot, in mediumship, is when people literally say, well, that's what spirit are saying. So if you don't understand it, that's just tough.
Yeah.
And I just want to scream, because it's not just what spirit wanted to say in that time. They must want to say so much more.
Yeah.
And I think also, I try to meditate, and even open-eyed walk in meditation. I try to be still where I'm able, and in that stillness, I'm aware of the urge the spirit have to want to come manifest and connect with us, far more readily, far more openly, far more powerfully.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm drawn very much to trance. As you know, I
Yes.
sit for trance regularly, and I sit more increasingly for transfiguration, because I think if people can have a very positive experience where I sit, invariably in a room filled with purple light these days, and they see a representation of their mother, father, brother,
Oh.
sister, over the face of the medium.
Yeah.
It's palpable, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
real. We can measure that, almost take photographs of that at times.
Yeah.
So I'm constantly looking at how spirit can represent themselves better, and that sometimes is through the understanding that is given to the medium, and they can interpret that into language. Or at times we can get out of the way completely, and we can allow spirit to come manifest through us through their words, or at times to show themselves over the features of the medium. And so when I work in these worlds, I think it becomes very real spirit. And the amount of times I've maybe worked in trance, and spirit have come through, and the recipients held me
Oh.
as a sort of
Yeah.
as the last representation of their loved one.
Yeah.
And so I've ruined so many good shirts where I've come back from a trance with mascara on a shoulder or something. I'll have to buy some cheap shirts, I think, for demonstrating. But that's such a testament of
Yeah.
how it must have felt very real to
Yeah.
somebody.
Yeah.
But all this is available to all of us.
Yeah.
It's not just for the odd. It's just to sit for it.
It's really interesting. And then with the mediumship, I find again, so we talk about people that are demonstrating and stuff, and a lot of times they kind of want to rattle off facts, right? They make spirit facts rather than people and a conversation. And one of the things I ask my students to do, so I'm going to ask you to do, what if you had to say, what do you want to be known for? Like, at some point we're gonna leave this physical world, right? And people may think of things of what they would say about you, but from your soul, Tony, what do you want to be remembered for? What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, crumbs. I think I'd like people to really remember me as being honest.
Yeah.
and truthful with them. You know, I've never tried willing to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, you know. So clients that might come see me, I'll say, oh, I've read for you before, and do you have a mother in the spirit? So I'm always declaring what I think's in my mind and this kind of thing, honest. And I suppose when I look back on my work, although I've possibly demonstrated more than most, because I've literally been demonstrating for coming up 32 years of demonstrating, and so how many thousands of dems I'm not sure. And I love trance work, and you know, I've worked extensively with psychic detection over the years, but I think ultimately I'm a healer, if nothing else. So I think I'd like to be remembered, I suppose, of the wonderful opportunities the Spirit gave, that I was able to be placed in a position where they were able to come through and really bless someone's life, whether it be physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and make that energetic connection. Because I think we are healers foremost, whether we heal with actions or words or feelings or something more visual or something more palpable. We heal because we educate people to recognize that we are more than this mortal body. We are soul beings incarnate, having a physical experience at this time. So we're there's so much to say, isn't there? But we're I guess in anything, we're reminding people, asking people to remember that they're actually blissful, enlightened soul beings getting through a physical life, trying to learn something from it. So I'd like to be remembered for all of that. And if nothing else, you know, somebody that was honest, I think that would.
Yeah. And with this, what about your kids, right? So you said they're getting older and you're spending more time with them. Are you enjoying that experience? Like, is it, because talk about two different worlds.
Yeah.
Taking a kid to
Yeah,
a play date.
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
how are you enjoying that? How are you enjoying fatherhood?
Yeah, thank you. That's a lovely question. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was always our dream to have children. You know, obviously, my partner and I, Stuart, we've been together for 28 years.
Wow.
So we've been together for a long time, and we never thought we'd have children, not in a million years. But you know, we looked around. We just got married. I think we were 37 when we got married, and I was in Hawaii. We was all together, there was a few little group of us, and I was on a balcony in Honolulu, and I walked from the balcony back into the apartment, and I just had this absolute overwhelming knowingness that we were going to have a child, and it was like the weirdest thing. It was a bittersweet feeling because it felt also impossible to have one. And then we started to look and we recognized that, you know, things had moved on and there wasn't so much judgment about same-sex couples having children, etc. So we went on a big path and it took, you know, some years for us to finally have our daughter and then have our son thereafter. And they're such blessings. So my daughter's been on a play date today, and it was so lovely because, you know, her friend's mother said she has impeccable manners. I think, oh, thank God. So she must be on her best behaviour. But they're very different children.
Did she learn the manners from you or your partner?
I think both.
Okay.
I think, we common decency, please and thank yous. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's ingrained, isn't it? You want your kids to be good representatives of their parents. And so they've got good manners, certainly they have. But they're also great kids. They're very kind. And we've not so long. Last year we moved out to the countryside a little more, and so that was a decision we've made for the children. So we now live with fields everywhere and horse farms everywhere around here, but we're also only maybe an hour and 20 from central London, so we didn't have to go far. So we've got chickens, and we've got rabbits, and we've got a pony,
Oh,
and we've got a new puppy called Mouse.
oh,
So, and we've got the kids. So we all sort of jog along, with the animals and the fields, and running around in Wellington boots, or I think you don't call them Wellington boots, you call them something else. And we're having a great time, but it feels far more. Oh, I don't say 1950s, but maybe 1985. It's a simpler life out here for the kids. So we're really enjoying showing the kids, birds in flight,
yeah.
geese in migration, bumblebees and bats not far from here as well, and how to muck out a pony. And it's all sort of yada, yada, yada. But I think, asking the question, how am I enjoying fatherhood? I am. I mean, much of it, I think I'm rediscovering my own child, because I think I'm possibly more stupid than the kids, in as much as I want to play. We've been playing hide and seek today. And all of these simple things are family things, but they're a great leveler, and there's a balance in that. So when I do then travel, because I still do lots of demonstrations, um, I almost stand upon that stage feeling that I've got the balance right now for the first time in a long time. And having a family as such has offered me that, so it's been such a blessing.
Oh, that's great. That's
Mm.
wonderful, huh?
Mm.
Do you feel that any of your kids are gifted? I mean, we're all gifted. We all are. Do you feel that any of them might pursue the same path as you did, or do you think you're going to have an accountant?
Yeah, yeah. Well, at the moment, my daughter wants to be a vet, and my
Okay.
son wants to be an astronaut. So it's all to play for. They were telling me that today. My daughter says a few insightful things. It's sort of more weird that she should say that when we just had a conversation and she didn't know, that kind of thing. But my little boy, he's different. In as much said to me just the other day, Papa, what happens when we die? And I said, well, Papa believes that we go somewhere else, leave that too. And what happens there? And I try to explain. I think that's right. And it's just the things that he asks and talks about. I had an occasion about maybe 2 years ago. So he was very small, and I'd said to him something about my grandmother, and he said her name, but it wasn't a name he knew. He said Betty, and that was her name. And so I thought maybe he's heard that. But I was with a good friend of mine, and he said, "Well, let me try." He said, "Finn, what's my mum's name?" And Finn thought about it, and he said, "I don't know. Anne?" He said, "Yes, it is." And he said, "What's my dad's name?" And he thought about it. "I don't know. Bill." And it was. And we started thinking, what? And then I said, asking something else. And so he says, "What's my sister's name?" And he said, "I don't know. Emma." And it just was weird. And it was maybe for like 20 minutes. I'm not one to go to kids or make them perform. I really am not.
Yeah.
But he was enjoying it as well, you see. And then it kind of fiddled away. So I think he's got something,
Yeah.
definitely. And certainly better than names than his papa. But he's got something. Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be great to kind of watch them both evolve, and seeing them now, you're
Yeah.
getting to know their personalities. And I love animals, so I love that your daughter wants to be a vet. That's pretty
Yeah.
incredible.
And she rides beautifully. She loves horses. So,
Oh,
yeah, the good thing. But I think with all kids, Colby, I think the
yeah,
most important thing is to um, um, really sort of ensure they're kind.
yeah,
That's the most important thing, is kindness. No matter
yeah,
what, we could be pretty, not so pretty, we were tall, not so tall, rich, not so rich. But if we're just kind,
yeah,
that's all you ever need to be.
yeah,
And I think that's what I keep saying to them. It doesn't matter about anything else other than you being kind.
yeah.
I was watching YouTube this evening, and it was heart wrenching. There's a little boy, Australian boy, and he's obviously got some physical differences, and he's distraught because he's being bullied
Oh,
school. So I've been crying tonight, you know, talking to this little boy. He's only 9. And he just can't work out why people are so unkind, you
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
And so this is it, done now. So it's kindness all the way, softness, gentleness, and giving people a break, you know, and
Yeah.
also learning to be kind to ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes we're mean to ourselves. Yeah,
The way we talk to
simply done.
ourselves, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
now one thing that I know one of the students wanted to ask, how do they work through fear? What is the magic wisdom insight on working through fear? Maybe fear of getting it right or fear of getting it wrong, fear of not being good enough, fear that you're making it all up. How do you advise someone who is stuck in fear?
Well, I think don't panic about the fear, because the fear can be a friend. The fear can really give you insight and adrenaline and a kickstart in many ways. But the fear should fade very quickly after we get into the power. So there's something about spirit work, in which modality we're working in, that after a moment or so, a minute or two, if we've surrendered to whatever is the power that runs through us, and that comes because there's a quickening in everything, and our own soul's being takes precedence over the human, or precedent rather, over the human condition of the earth brain. So once we start to work, just allow your own power to rise. And as its power rises, fear and yeah, anything associated to that should fade away. Now, if we're halfway through a consultation and we're still sitting in our fear, don't panic. But it would be a great indication that we still need to work on trying to manifest our own soul's being. How do we do that? By relaxing, not making it about us, and again, not being results orientated. So if we set out to do a reading and we're only ever worried about getting it right, being marvelous, being well received, remember, we're not there to prove anything. We're there only to share insight and inspiration. And so I've made that mistake of give me a yes, please. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And really, of course, I want it to be understood and well understood, of course. We all do. But if we make it all about the yes, then our earth brain stays very central to the proceedings.
Yeah.
And you see it with other mediums, or you see it in ourselves. I'm sure we see it in ourselves. When we hit a barrage of no's, I'm not sure, that's not working for me, I don't understand that. Our human becomes very much the surface that we want to apologize for the work. So
Yeah.
how to banish fear is to get into our power, which is our own soul's being. And as our power starts to flow, our confidence will build, and we no longer are we affected by the pressure of getting it right, because it's got nothing to do with us. We're only ever as good as our clients allow us
Yeah.
to be. And I don't know if this is of any interest, but I'm always reminded of this lovely lady that came from Scotland. She flew down to see me, and prior to me reading for her in my centre, she'd explained that she'd saved up and her children had helped her with the airfare and her hotel and the cost of the consultation, and how she was so looking forward to it. And I thought, my God, I hope it's good,
Aw.
because this lady has put such store on this reading. And I don't know, maybe the reading was okay to start with, and no doubt I would have said a few things that were of misinterpretation. That's the way it goes. But rather than her slam me down with a no, she didn't. Her negative responses were, oh, that's not right, but please try again. And so you couldn't help but be marvelous in the end, because you felt so, you know, she was so enthusiastic and you felt so supported by your recipient,
Yeah.
that I gave her the information she needed, because she didn't push me down, slam me down,
Yeah.
tell me off, make it a yes/no game.
Yeah.
And so we need to educate the people that we try to help, that they need to learn to support the sensitivity of the worker, because we are truly, as a collective, able to be quite marvelous and be literally miracle workers. But
Yeah.
it's much easier to bring those miracles and those insights to people that we believe want us to work with them.
Yes.
They
Yes.
want us to connect with them and reach out and help them.
Yeah. It just makes you feel welcomed, right? It's easier.
Absolutely, yeah. People, this idea, and this is, I don't know how I'm waffling on here, Colby. You have to forgive me, but I'm trying to say to clients now, try not to answer me as brutally as yes or no, but just give me a sense of, I understand that absolutely. I kind of understand that. That's definitely wrong, or I really don't know it. That's almost right. So they're just a little more expressive than
Yeah.
hearing the yes, no, like bullets from a gun.
Yeah.
It's far more open. And I've noticed recently, again, I said only a little while ago, it's your father's in the spirit. And the poor girl, all she wanted to say to me was, it's not my dad, it's my stepdad. But I didn't allow her the opportunity, you see.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think she was a bit frustrated, because then I was saying, your father's in the spirit world. And then, who's this man alive? But don't tell me. I was playing that game. Don't tell me the honest responses.
Yeah, and I said that I even kind of started to mention that in some platform as well. Platform is a community event, right? It's for the healing of all, because not everyone will get a personal individual message, but they're certainly going to gain hopefully some healing from the experience. So I tell students that too. Instead of just yes, no, I don't know, it really is about the experience of saying, how do you understand this? Just so it gives that person a chance to talk. It gives that person a chance to share, because we all want to know. I say we all want to know, and yet we do want to know as a community.
Absolutely. And there's nothing wrong, if you feel you've worked well, you could say to your recipient, would you now like to validate some of the information I brought? I mean, it's scary, very scary,
Yeah.
but why? See, I'm always amazed because the programs like Wood, crossing over, we hear the reading, and that's really interesting, but it doesn't hold a candle to the reveal. That's the thing we're all looking for, isn't it?
Yes,
That's
yes,
even us.
yes.
John might
Oh,
say it's this, and they go, yeah, yeah, no, yeah, oh, yeah. And then it's only in the reveal they say, but when he mentioned, the green pen, and you think, wow, we would have missed that.
yeah,
The reveal is the important thing. So, yeah, maybe there's a way of introducing a little more, how does that affect you? What does that mean?
yeah.
Or even I did a demonstration in Boston 10 years ago, and I did the dem, it was okay. And I came off the dem thinking it was all right. And then I sat down, and the lady said, now we're going to go through the audience and ask people to validate your information. Well, I thought, no, don't do it. I can't bear it. Anyway, so they went to people. She'd written down some key notes. Well, I tell you what, after the reveal, I thought, Tony, you're amazing. Who knew? Because it wasn't obvious from their responses. But after the moment to consider it, God, the feedback was brilliant, I have to say. So I think we should be, a little more brave
Yeah,
with our information and trust what we've got. If it's been given, it's given for a reason.
yeah.
But so much more interesting for the audience that didn't receive a message. They could go home feeling it was fully validated if it needed to be so.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you've got a mentoring program coming up for psychic detection. Can you share a little bit about what that mentorship is like? How many students are you going to take? When does it start? How do they get into it?
Oh, bless you. Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you for asking me. Well, I run a lot of programs, advancing mediumship. That starts again next year. So that's another program. I've got 2 trance programs running online, but my new one for October 2020 is psychic detection. And so that's a program online that I've been asked to do for a long time. And I've been putting it off and putting it off because the time wasn't right. But it's quite involved, you know. We look at motivation, we look at the scene, we look at the intention, we look at looking through the eyes of the victim, looking through the eyes of the victor, if that's applicable. We're looking at references and geographical references, and there's a real distinct skill set that's not about that's what I feel, dear, that's what I've got. We pull apart a case, working with a team within, you know, the group assembled, and brainstorm. We have the first rush of information that we fully note, and then we work through that first rush of information, discounting and recounting, and it goes on. But I've worked in detection for over 20 years. I've worked, or is all around the world, with detection too, working with, you know, police forces and individuals, families, and I did some TV on this as well. You see, in the
Yes.
UK, I did a TV series called Tony Stockwell, Psychic Detective, and I was also part of a 3 where we did a thing called Psychic Private Eyes. And then I did a thing called Legend Detectives, where I went to Romania and Germany. So I've done a lot, so people can see if they're interested in this subject, you know, what I do if they Google that.
We love the
But I
Google and
think
the YouTube videos.
we have a Google, so we live for a Google. But I think detection is really important. And it's not all about, you know, terrible things,
Yeah.
because you can use psychic detection, I don't know, find long lost families, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
to bring insight, you know,
Yeah.
where there is none, bring closure where there is none.
Yes.
But detection is not always for the faint-hearted. That's
Yeah.
the truth. We tend to work on cold cases, etc. But I had a quite amazing experience, if you don't mind me sharing.
Oh,
And I
please
shan't say
do.
where it was because it's a little bit dodgy. But yeah, I was abroad. I was in Europe, and I was asked to look at a case of a missing girl, young lady rather. And I worked with the police. They came to pick me up, and I worked with the police. And after a day of going to her home, to say smell her clothes sounds really strange, but to feel her clothes against my face, to touch her personal items, and go back out again. And I said, "This is where she is." And the police said, "No, absolutely not. Thank you very much for your services, blah, blah, blah." And that case has never left me, you see. It's always in me. And I often think about this particular case abroad, where I look towards the ocean, to this piece of land, and I say, that's where she is. And then seemingly by chance, I meet another medium from exactly the same location. And I said, this is my experience. She went white, I went white, as she said. She'd worked on that case as well.
Wow.
And we were talking about the case and its frustration and who and when and where. And it was some years ago now, maybe 15 years ago. And I said, where did you think she was? And do you know what? It was the strangest thing, because we both said exactly. It's a small place. So if I was to say it's a 20-meter radius or something like that, I mean, exactly the same place.
Wow.
And I got the most confidence is the wrong word possibly, but I thought, wow, I've convinced myself for years I was way off the target.
Yeah.
And, you know, my mind had come in and corrupted. And then she'd come independent years later to detect exactly the same place. Now, whether we're right or wrong, I don't know yet. But it was wonderfully affirming to know that one of us, you know, without any prior knowledge, had indicated exactly the same place. So I really think there is something in detection. And when someone's looking for a truth and an answer, we can come in of a psychic detective and really bring some insight.
Well,
Then it's invaluable.
who's to say that it wasn't the the spirit of the girl who sent the medium to you, just almost as a validation or as a thank you.
Yeah,
Just,
I think those things happen,
Yeah.
and so I'm doing a year-long course. So if anyone is interested, they could eventually look at my website, which is tonystockwell.com.
Yes.
But I think because it will sell out quickly, I know because we've got a lot of people. If they were interested, if they email Tony Stockwell PA@gmail.com. So that's Tony Stockwell, then P for Papa, A for Alpha, PA @gmail.com. And lady, it helps me out enormously. We'll be able to assist.
Great. And that's just so we know, it's an online mentorship, correct?
Online, yeah, a lot
Perfect.
of obviously I do mentoring here in the UK.
Yes.
But for people to slap over to me every time we've got a course day,
Yeah.
so
No, this is
and
perfect.
perfect, absolutely. And if they get reasonable Wi-Fi, but it's like there's a personal element where I just chat to people on their own at different times, and it's just like being in the same room as someone.
Oh, yeah,
So
definitely.
clear.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's
Well,
wonderful, isn't
I
it?
want to thank you so much for being here with me today. It
That's
must be like
okay.
1 in the morning for you too. Sorry.
It's kind of like whatever it is, 1:30. That's okay.
Oh.
It's my birthday now.
Oh,
Just
happy
my birthday.
birthday. Oh,
Happy
look at that.
birthday to me.
Happy
Yeah,
birthday to
exactly.
you.
Yeah, but that's
Uh,
a nice time to spend with you, Colby.
I used to work at a place called Chili's here. It's a chain store. So I'll sing for you what we used to do for people. Happy birthday on this your special day. Happy birthday. That's all I'm here to say. Hey.
Well, I liked it. Where's my food? That's great. Thank
You
you
want your
very much.
cake. But
I've got my cake only too.
I do want to thank you. I do. I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate your insight, your wisdom, your kindness, and you do. You just share everything, and that's really rare. And I love that you're setting an example for mediums to strive for and to follow, and I really do appreciate it.
No problems. Right. Thank you very much, Colby. And I wish you well. Have a nice time when you go down under. You going to New Zealand and Australia, you say?
I do. I leave tonight. So
Oh,
I
wow.
leave tonight. Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a
anyhow,
long journey.
it's going to be fine. I'll sleep. But I do want to thank you. And anybody, listen, go to tonystockwell.com and follow Tony. Send that email. Get into this psychic detection while you can. And I have to have you on again, Tony.
Look forward to it. Thank you so much, Colby.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, and have a great
Thank you
night.
so much. God bless.
Thank you for listening to the Colby Rebel Show. Be sure to follow Colby on social media at Psychic Rebel. And if you've enjoyed this podcast, please head on over to iTunes to leave a review to help Colby grow the tribe. Colby is an international psychic medium, teacher, best-selling author, and speaker. She is a master teacher of the Lisa Williams International School of Spiritual Development and is the owner of the Colby Rebel Spirit Center in Los Angeles. Visit colbyrebel.com.